Hi there, it's Laura from Doll La, and today I wanted to show you what I had purchased from the World Doll Day show that took place in the Sacramento, California area yesterday, April 5th. And I went there and I actually did see a couple of YouTubers. I saw Shauna from Sew for Dolls and I saw Chad from Chad Marvelous. So that was kind of fun. And then I also saw Josh and I saw Justin, but I didn't get a chance to say hi to him, but I got to say hi to the others. So let me show you what I got. I ended up purchasing about 9 items from 2 different sellers. And we'll start with the first seller. I got these 3, this little Barbie doll here in the green, and this doll here, I thought she was Vanna White, but she's actually Sabrina the Teenage Witch doll, and she's got this little mechanism in the back, a little rolly thing that makes her hand move, and I'm not really sure what her gimmick is supposed to be. I don't know if you can see that right there. So she was $1. The Barbie, who I found out later was the Sparkle Beach Barbie, or Teresa, excuse me, Sparkle Beach Teresa, and she's wearing a gown from an independent doll clothing maker. I'll show you the tag in a minute. But then I also got this little Madame Alexander dolly. So she was also $1. She doesn't have any clothes, but I think she says, oh, Alexander. So she's a little Madame Alexander doll, and she's only $1, so she needs a little help. I don't necessarily collect Madame Alexander or Ginny dolls, and ironically, that's what I ended up getting this time. But, you know, for $1, at the very least, she'll make a cute doll for my American Girl or other taller dolls. And then the other thing I got from that same seller of those 3 dolls was this Madame Alexander vintage composition doll, and as you can see, she's gonna need some work, but she's been restrung, so that part is done already, and she's just going to need a new wig and some touch up on her face to get some of that crazing gone. I like her size. She's like a 12-inch, I think. So yeah, normally I had told myself I wasn't going to be picking up any more composition dolls because I do have a number of them, but yeah, I just couldn't resist this little $5 fixer-upper. And then as you can see in the background, the Creatable World was also just $5 for this kit, so I couldn't resist that. I have purchased previously some of these Creatable World kits, and I like the dolls, you know, the gimmick with the wig. The wigs don't really look good on the dolls, actually. So they look better as boy dolls, in my opinion, than they do as girl dolls. So, you know, if you're really into the gender neutral stuff, this is a fun way to do it. Yeah, so I usually will just keep them as boys and put the boy clothes on them and then save the other clothing for the girl dolls. But, you know, anybody can do what they want. So yeah, that was from the first seller, those 5 items. And from the second seller, I got these 3 Ginny dolls. Now again, I'm not an avid Ginny doll collector. I have maybe 1 or 2 already in my collection, but I don't seek them out, and I don't normally pick them up, but these were 3 for $25, and I really like the costumes that they were wearing. And that's really the whole appeal of these dolls. I mean, if you look at their faces, they're basically baby faces, and pretty much the same doll with different hair and different costumes. But the costumes are really cute. This little hula hoop girl, this little Easter bonnet girl with her little dolly, and this little, I don't know what she is, but she's got an awfully cute outfit on, and then she also has a little bag with the dolly. So yeah, I thought, you know, if nothing else, I have small dolls that might fit into those clothes. So if I don't want to keep the doll itself, I can just redress a different doll. So that's all I got from the doll show. But then afterward, we stopped off at an antique store, and I picked up something else there. I'll show you in a second. At an antique store in Roseville, I found this very old doll. She's kind of like a paper mache. You can see there's a big old chip under her chin where the paint is flaking off. So it's kind of like a molded cardboard or paper mache, And then she's wearing this very gauzy, flimsy, netted dress, but she's sewn, probably by machine. I don't think a hand stitching could do that even, but I just thought she was really neat. She was $9, and I don't know, I wish I knew her history. I just really like these old dolls that have a story to tell, even if you don't quite know what their story is. So yeah, I thought she was neat. I'm gonna try and see if I can patch under her chin, but we'll see. So yeah, here's my vintage antique doll. Here are some of my other little vintage dolls. This one here in the polka dot shirt is a vinyl, and I don't really know much of their history. They're all purchased inexpensively at thrift stores or doll shows, and I fixed them up the best I could. I'm no expert, but you know, I did some restringing. This poor little one is vitiligo, but that's okay. So yeah, this is my collection of the babies. And then I forget what that one's called, but that's a little vinyl dolly too, probably from the 80s. Down here, the one with the green hat in the back is a Fergo, an Italian doll, and she's also got a paper mache. This little one here is a Kate Kruse. She is from Germany, probably from the 90s. She's kind of made out of felt, and her cute little outfit. This little doll is one that I bought myself when I was 12 years old. I went to a doll shop in Germany when I was visiting relatives there, and I picked out this little doll with the money that I had been given. And so she's been with me a very long time. And then in the back is another one that I've refurbished and repainted. Not too well, but you know, she was pretty rough at one point. And this is a vintage reproduction, probably a Tonner doll. I like her little woolen outfit. These dolls, I don't change their clothing. They're just in the display case. There's a little ice skating doll. I don't know if you can, yeah, there's her little ice skates. And then this little one is a Sydney. She is the Deweese Cochran reproduction. I think reproduction F&B when Robert Tonner was the owner of the F&B toy company after he bought it out. So yeah, that's a Cindy, a Deweese Cochran. And then this is just I think a little Madame Alexander in a cute little school dress. And then these two in the back are porcelain dolls, and I don't collect porcelain dolls, but these are, what was her name? Oh shoot, what was her name? Diana Effner. It just finally came to me. So she sculpted the faces, and that's why I really like them. Diana Effner was very popular with doll collectors, and sadly she passed away. But so I have these two. One's Goldilocks, and one is Little Miss Muffet, maybe. Down here is my little teeny weeny tiny tears, my childhood doll that I've had ever since I was a small child. And this was a little thrift store find, and another thrift store find that I fixed up and cleaned up. And these two little handmade dollies were at the Goodwill, and I bought them because somebody put so much work into them, and they were just kind of thrown in a pile, and I felt like they should be rescued and honored. So yeah, they live here. And then this little is a baby Huggums, I think. Also a thrift store find, and I just cleaned her clothing and cleaned her face a little bit. Actually, I put her in the washing machine and washed her, and she came out nice and clean. So that's one cabinet. I have another cabinet full of vintage and antique dolls. There's a Shirley Temple, I don't remember, I think a Lady Revlon in the gold dress there. And I don't remember who this is. They were all purchased inexpensively, so no, they don't have designer name tags or labels on them. But this is a really beautiful antique doll. Armand, is that it? I'll have to look that up again, the back of the neck. But I just put her in a christening gown and gave her this little imitation dolly to hold. So that's at the top. And then in this shelf, I have a little Muffy Bear in the back. Ooh, glare from the sun. Some smaller dolls. That one in the back is a Hummel. And she needed a lot of fixing up too, so I did the best I could with her. And then these are either Ginny or Madame Alexander. There's a little porcelain frozen Charlotte. I really like the little costumes that these girls are wearing. So these are probably from the 80s or 90s. The one with the bonnet and the one with the little Miss Spider. I think she's, what is she? Another little Miss Muffet. And then I don't know who she is, but she's cute. There's a Muffy Vanderbear in the back. And then this vintage girly in a little vintage dress, a little book. And next row, a Madame Alexander in an Indian outfit, and a little girl, little vintage girl, another little vintage girl, another little vintage girl, and another little vintage girl. This one has a vinyl body and face. And then this is one of those Nancy Ann dolls, storybook dolls. And then this I got at a thrift store. This is the Cecile Girl of Many Lands. I have her. She doesn't have any shoes, but you can't really tell because her gown is long. And then here at the bottom is some more. You can recognize a Shirley Temple. And then some vintage dolls, another little ice skater. Oh no, ballerina. And just some more vintage dolls that I fixed up myself. And yet another cabinet full of vintage dolls. Here's another Diana Effner, Snow White. And so this one in the back is an Italian doll, and her eyes move side to side. And then again, I don't know their names. They were not, the high quality, very affordable ones. They're just kind of thrown in a box. These are pretty cool. These wooden dolls are from Germany from 1918. Probably the oldest dolls in my collection. There's a little cat there. And then there is Deweese Cochran reproduction, a taller Cindy, and another Diana Effner. So those are just vintage reproduction dolls, as is this one, but she looks antique. And then here's a true vintage doll. She's cute too. And again, I think I dyed her dress. It had faded so much, so I just dyed it and put the trim on it. Gave her some socks and shoes. And here at the bottom, another mixture of vintage and reproduction vintage dolls in this cabinet. So you see I have quite a collection, and that's not all. Here is yet another shelf of vintage and antique dolls. This is an antique. So these are really interesting. They have porcelain faces and wooden bodies. Very, very odd. But I like them. So I kind of fixed them up. I gave them eyelashes and cleaned their outfits. And that's a reproduction. So these are Polish dolls, and they're very old too. And unfortunately, you can't really clean them because they would just fall apart if I tried to clean them. Same with this one in the back, but I just think they're neat. So I have them. Yeah. And this is the last of my Vintage dolls. This is a soft vinyl with a squishy face and composition, hard plastic. This one I got at a scrapyard. She was just on a shelf in the scrapyard, so I took her home and fixed her up. This, I think, is a Maggie. This is a Snow White. Her head does not turn, but I thought she was pretty cute. It's a Madame Alexandra. I think she is one of the Little Women series. And then another little girl in the back. And this little one. So yeah, I do really like and enjoy the vintage dolls, but I have enough now, so I'm trying to not collect anymore. These are my Sasha Morgan Taller dolls. They are from the 1980s and 90s. So they're not that old. Well, I guess they're kind of old now. A couple of them, like this one, I had an artistry paint. And this one also, I had an artistry paint to look like my daughter when my daughter was that age. This is like the factory screening. So when I first became an adult doll collector, before I started with Barbies, I was collecting these. And I sold most of the ones I had because I had like, I don't know, probably 30 of them or 40 of them. So now I just have one boy in the back who kind of looks like Harry Potter, but his name is Michael. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls, and then 2 babies. A baby. That is the Sylvia Natterer baby. And that's a little Sasha Morgan Taller baby.